Hey folks, Kevin here. Well, it's April 6, 2019. I'm over in the coop. The ducks have been let out. The pond 5 finally thawed, so they got out outside. And so today we're going to be talking about pruning fig trees and taking those hardwood cuttings and rooting them. So we're in the coop area where Boo has been housed. Boo is our old-timer Rhode Island red blind chicken. And she's able to not damage the fig or the citrus trees, so we keep her corralled. And I just took down the big 12-foot cattle panel here to keep the ducks out of there, because the ducks will completely decimate all of the plants in there, completely wipe them right out. So the fig trees, the apical buds, the ones at the very top of the limbs, are all starting to turn green, are going to get ready to erupt. So we really need to do the pruning right away. One word of caution to mention is some people are sensitive to the sap that's produced inside of the fig trees, and so they may feel itchy and all and have even potentially a more severe reaction. I don't know how common it is, but it's something to be aware of. So the best time of year to do your pruning is during the winter months, when all the sap is down into the roots, just like all trees, deciduous trees. It saps down in the roots, and there's much less chance of that sap getting on you. So ideally, the best way to prune fig trees is to prune them like we would a peach, a plum, an apricot, having an open vase shape so that we can go around to get good airflow, and just having a few main limbs around the outside, because fig trees are really vigorous growers and they can get out of control. The limbs can cross, and it can be almost impossible to get to the fruit. So having it a nice open vase shape would be fantastic. And that's tough because we go in and out through these narrower doors now, so I'm not going to be, unless they're small, I won't be starting them off as the open vase. Now I have a couple that have already started that way. They were last year's cuttings, and they're doing okay so far. Now last year we lost most of our fig trees, many of our citrus trees, and our bananas because of the chickens being in with them and not having a corral up. So we've learned from that mistake. So the trees did very well in here over the winter. I'm going to cut back, certainly remove any dead limbs, suckers that we don't want, those ones coming up from the root systems. I'm going to cut off anything that's getting too tall, because I really don't want it much higher than 4 or 5 foot off the ground, because those new limbs will come up and start bearing fruit. Again, I can prune again next fall, next winter month, after the trees go dormant, for ultimately, if the greenhouse is all set, I can get that ideal shape that I want. But for right now, I'm going for less than that, so that I can get them in and out of the doors so that they can spend the summer season outside. So let's get started doing some pruning. Oh, things I should mention: good, clean, and sharp pruning tools. So I'm using a set of loppers and a set of bypass pruning shears as well. Let's get started. just finished gathering up the hardwood cuttings from what I could get thus far. I did an okay job pruning. I got a lot of the suckers off. Many of the figs that were reaching well above 5 foot tall, I got cut off as well. And I got some of the branches that were going down or curling around. I got those off as well. I got quite a few. Now I'm going to go get some compost, put them in some of the buckets, and stick those hardwood cuttings in the ground and see how things turn out. Here we go. Well, I just finished getting the hardwood cuttings of the figs into the pots. There's a bunch of pots at this end of the garden, the north end of the garden. There's also about 1/3 of the pots that you see down there that are the hardwood cuttings from a year ago of champagne pink currants. And they produce lots of good roots, just like the elderberries did. And they had been started along the west wall, right along that wall there. And I recently got those out. I've got to transplant some of the clover plants that are over there, as well as a couple other locations. And there's several pots of figs at the other end over here, along with some persimmon seeds and some black locust seeds that I put in a couple of pots over there to overwinter, so that they could go through the process as well of getting them set for germination this spring. So we'll see how that ends up working out. Now, this whole western garden plot that we'd grown produce in for the last several years, and that this last fall I rebuilt all of these permanent raised beds, I've elected this year to go ahead and use this as a nursery garden area. So there's going to be some dividing of some of the plants, the oregano, some of the herbaceous plants. There's certainly, I've got a whole bunch of potted plants that I overwintered along the margins here as well. And we're going to be starting some blueberry plants in a couple of these rows over here, these raised beds. And I'm going to be doing some more hardwood cuttings if I can get up the gumption to get some of this stuff done. And I'll try to take you along the way. Over in that first row, the one right there next to the building, that's where the hardwood cuttings of all of the elderberry, mulberry, 2 different grapevine varieties, and the hibiscus plants. have all been transferred over there. Now some of the cuttings are really small, so I don't know how well they'll take. And an interesting thing about the hibiscus, with regards to the fig hardwood cuttings and the elderberry hardwood cuttings, they root so darn easily. Often they do very well, even if they're quite large. Like some of the fig hardwood cuttings are 2.5 feet long, so we'll see how they work out as well. There are going to be some frost, so I got to get a frost cover over them before the frost comes here in a couple of days. But we're having a bit of a warm spell. This is a garden area that I'm going to try and take you along with me, doing a couple of propagation techniques, and I'll go over those in other videos as well. So if you found this video of value, please give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends. Feel free to ask questions and leave comments. And I'm thinking about doing a whole series on propagation, from seed propagations to cuttings to root, everything from leaf cuttings to root cuttings, hardwood cuttings, softwood cuttings, and semi-softwood cuttings, along with some of the other mounding or stooling techniques. I probably won't do air layering because I only have about a 50% success rate with that, but I'm going to try and share with you some of the science behind each of these techniques. If you think that's a good idea, please leave a comment below and let me know what you think. Thanks so much for sticking with me, folks, and have a great day. Bye-bye now.